How to know if your ex is dating someone is something you might want to know after a breakup, because you feel that if my ex is dating someone, it means that they're already starting a new chapter in their life. They forgot me or they want to move on. So I'm going to explain you in this video why it matters to know whether your ex is dating someone, and the thing you need to also assess, because I'm making videos to help you get back with your ex, and you'll understand that if your ex is dating someone, it's not the end of the world, depending on a few cases, by the way. Jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
So first of all, why does it matter? And I think it's not very hard to convince you that it matters when you've been dumped and your ex is dating someone new. It's really triggering that deep feeling of loss, even stronger than a simple breakup. And the reason it does is because when we lose our primary attachment figure and that person is dating someone new, it's extremely violent. It's almost like we perceive it in our primitive brain as a sort of a signal of threat, of potential death, because we are hardwired to be attached with someone, to reproduce, and to grow. That's what we are, meant to do as animals. However, I just want to highlight the fact that something that I read in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships. Yes, there's a journal on this. Keeping tabs on your ex will prolong emotional distress. So you have to find the right balance between spending your time stalking your ex, trying to know what they're up to, and time about healing, moving forward, growing. It is very important because it's essential for you. If you want to get back with your ex, it's not about knowing what they're up to that matters. What matters is what you're doing right now. So I want to challenge you, need to challenge these thoughts right away, that by seeing your ex dating someone is the end of the world. Because it implies that your happiness depends on them. That's not the point. You start from you and you grow from that. So I'll explain a little bit what I mean by that. First of all, dating is not loving. I see that every single day with my clients. I have a lot of clients whose ex and former clients whose ex dated someone. Most of the time it doesn't lead anywhere. Because what the relationship they're in is what we call a rebound relationship. Is something that people use to cope with loss. You might be thinking, but it's very easy for my ex to cope with that loss because they took that decision to break up with me. So it's easy for them. It's not necessarily easy. It shouldn't be easy. If you had something meaningful, if your relationship was long enough, that will have a lasting impact on that person, on your ex. And it is why, even though they decided to end the relationship, this breakup is also hard for them. Hence, a lot of the times, especially if they're anxious, they will try to attach to someone else as quickly as possible. And that's the thing, as quickly as possible. And so they will bounce back. It's really about bouncing back, attaching quickly to someone almost random. And you might find your partner, your ex, dating someone who's completely the opposite of you. You were caring, loving, very nice, family guy, and she's dating a rebel. A guy who doesn't have a job, who lives in a camper van, or I'm taking two extremes. But it's usually like this. Or sometimes they will find a copycat, exactly the same person, because they want that continuity. So one aspect is like, oh yeah, I wasn't happy in that relationship, it didn't work, I was hurt, I'm going to get to the other extreme. Or I just want a continuity of the relationship, and they find exactly the same person. So the thing is, also sometimes they do that to get a sense of winning the breakup. So I know some of my clients who are on the other side, who got dumped, they would get into a new relationship as quickly as possible because they want to win the breakup. So very often we make those decisions, we end up in a relationship, but for the wrong reason. And of course, as we choose that person, we feel happy with that person. There's chemistry, there's some passion, but usually the passion in any relationship, Between 3 and 6 months, you have a phase of a honeymoon phase that we call. After this period, the passion should transition to compassion. And this is where most rebound will fail. Because you don't have enough material, you don't have enough foundation, you don't have enough common values. When you're with someone for 3 or 6 months, it's very easy to pretend. You're always on your A game. You don't have arguments, you travel, you go on restaurants, you go on dates. So it's always like the good sides of life, basically. You don't have the opportunity to sort of stress test the relationship. And what happens after 3 to 6 months is that you start to see the person 360 of the person. When you're dating someone for 3 to 6 months, you see 45 degrees of the person. You don't see the whole thing, right? And this is when, and it's the same for both of you, the person you date and yourself. You know, if you think about you when you go on a first date, of course, you're on your A game. What about you after 10 years of relationship? I'm pretty sure you're not the same person. So the most important thing you have to understand is that at some stage, your ex will start to compare. We all compare. I know it's bad, but I still compare myself. It's something we can't help. It's in our nature. And actually, for me, it's quite toxic because when I compare myself with other people on YouTube, I will always find people who are have way more viewers, way more subscribers. So it's very hard. So social media in that sense is really toxic. But I'm closing this chapter. So there will be a time, as I said, when compassion will transition to compassion, that they will see the true self of the person they're dating. And then they will start to compare and start to realize that any of your shortcomings, any of the things that they didn't necessarily like, was actually not bad. Or they start to realize that they fail to recognize some of your qualities. If I use the same example, you were a family guy and you were really into family and so on and so forth, and the new partner, he doesn't care about kids. He doesn't want to spend time with your kids, for example. And so there will be a clash, like realizing, oh, actually, I thought I didn't need this. I thought I didn't like that. But now that I have a new reality, now that I can confront myself with another reality, I prefer my previous version, right? And so a time will come, and it's always, it's not maybe, it's always. If you have had a relationship that matters, and your ex is dating someone, they will always go through this phase of asking, what do I want? If you had what's special, if you've been always respectful with your ex, if you've done the right things after the breakup, if you were not clingy, if you're respectful of their boundaries, of their space, if they ask for space, this should be a no-brainer. Because the new rebound is a benchmark. It's a benchmark between something that they chose randomly, a person that they met recently, who seems attractive, who seems different, and we have this drive of, I need to find novelty. Novelty will bring me happiness, excitement. That's what we're looking for in a new relationship. But then the excitement is short-lived. And very quickly, they're going to start benchmarking that relationship, which is short-lived, with something you had, a strong connection. And if you've done the right thing after the breakup, it's going to become a no-brainer comparing these two relationships. It should be obvious that what makes them happy is a relationship with you. And it's at that time that you should be on your A game, thinking about you on your first date, right? If you're not sure whether your relationship was strong enough, or whether your ex is in a rebound or not, I put together a quiz. There's a link in the description. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes. Take the quiz. It's free. And you get a result right away. And because I know some people, they're a bit in the dark, they're confused, they're a bit lost, and don't know whether they have any chance of getting back with the ex. At least with the quiz, you have a better idea and you can move forward and sort of detail a plan. So a few signs. It's usually a sudden change of behavior. When you start dating someone, you change the way what you do, your routine. For example, if they're in touch with you, they'll start. They won't talk to you as often as before. Perhaps they're going to change the way they post on social media. So some people, they want to be very secretive. So they used to post a lot on social media and they're going to stop posting on social media because they don't want to hurt you. Or sometimes they will start posting a lot because in the attraction phase, when you're dating someone at the beginning, you want to show off to your partner how exciting your life is. So it could be also they be more secretive. When you ask people, when you ask mutual friends, they don't know exactly. Again, they want to protect you. They could also make excuse not to see you, and this is why I think it's fundamental for you to accept a phase of no contact at some stage. And thinking that it's not by going no contact that your ex will date someone, regardless whether you're in touch with your ex or not. If your ex wants to attach to someone, wants to rebound to a new relationship, there's nothing you can do at this stage. So what should you do now? If they've chosen to be with that person, you have to accept it. Very often I have people calling me and telling me, I know this person is not good for them. I know they're making a mistake. Okay, fair enough. If you show up and tell your ex they made a mistake, how do you think they're going to respond? Do you think they say, oh yeah, sure, you're right. The person I broke up with, that I've decided not to pursue a relationship, I would listen to you. Of course, they would never admit that they're making a mistake. Let them make that mistake alone. When you make a mistake, you don't want people to tell you you've made a mistake. You want to be on your own, dealing with the mistake, telling yourself, okay, I screwed up. I don't want anyone to know. And I'm going to take the necessary measures to move forward from this failure. But usually when you do something wrong, you don't want anyone to tell you you're making a mistake. So remember, of course, if they are dating someone, it's not great. But it's not necessarily harder. It's just longer. Because the thing is, what happens after a breakup? If you do the right things, no contact, if you're respectful, if you work on yourself, get a therapist or someone to help you be more secure, for example, to learn about effective communication, to understand any sort of triggers or anything that you've done throughout the relationship that damaged the relationship, or anything that you needed to change in your life to create an environment that's more nurturing for your partner. And this is why it's so important for you to know you have to wait for this relationship to fail. You have to wait for your ex to realize that they just screwed up. And at some stage, your path will cross again. And they will have an opportunity to really compare you, not you, the old you that they've broken up with, the new you versus that person who's kind of a random person at the end of the day. So remember, and it's something very important, some people sort of underestimate this. If your ex is staying in touch or contacting you after the breakup, they're kind of emotionally cheating on that person, right? So very often, and it's a sign that the rebound is bound to fail when I hear my client telling me like, I've listened to your tips and I've got no contact, and after, I don't remember which one was the latest, but like after a month, I think, she contacted him, but she was still in that relationship. I was like, I know it's over. It's just a question of weeks, but I know this relationship is gone. Because by contacting you, they're just assessing. They're just scanning. They don't want to tell you that they're scanning. They will never admit that they're scanning. But they just want to know what you're up to. Just want to see, okay, I made that decision. I'm not really happy. Because if they were really happy with that person, they would forget you. They would not dare to contact you. So as soon as your ex contacts you, if they're in a relationship with that person, it's a sign that that relationship, for me, and it's almost like 100% of the time, it's a sign that the relationship will fail. So don't rush things. It's not a question of time at this stage. Time works in your favor. And just also assess if you're not manipulated. So sometimes people will sort of have the cake and eat it. They'll keep you on the hook. So really try to see whether they're here just as a narcissistic move to manipulate you, to keep you on the hook, or whether they're just trying to exit that old relationship. Some people, they're If your ex is anxious, for example, they struggle to be alone and they just want to make sure that if they end this relationship, they have someone after. But just a question of also making sure that they're not comparing the two persons at the same time. They need to let go of the rebound and then get back with you. If you are not sure, if you are confused, let me know. There is a link as well in the description to book a discovery call with me and I'll be more than happy to guide you. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.